Yo, 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 welcome to BLOCKS2BAGS, your go-to show for everything business, entrepreneurship, Web3, tech, creator, all of that good stuff. I'm Seb.
I'm BJ.
I'm George.
And we've got a very special guest with us, John.
How y'all doing, fam?
Tell us a bit about yourself, Horizan VC, what you guys kind of do.
So I'm John, and I started Horizan VC. And basically, I started it because rolling it back a little bit, I've been an ex-founder in that tech for 3.5 years, matching high school students to their best fit universities. And then around 4 years ago, I had a mate of mine who was running a Facebook group called, at that time it was called Mentors and Mentees. And he moved to Seattle, and that's kind of like when we started working together, and I got involved in entrepreneur ecosystem building, organizing events and whatnot. Organizing a lot of events like that, both I think in the US and UK, I learned about a lot of like just early stage entrepreneurs' pain points, and a lot of them revolved around like how do you get money from investors, which really drove me to, I think, learn more about the investing world, and that's how I spent loads of time around with y'all, angel investing school and all that type of stuff. The more I learned about angel investing in VC, the more I realized that there was an alternative capital instrument that was needed to invest in founders, the pre-seed and the earlier stage. And so that's working together with this fund that invented this instrument in the US. We wanted to basically, and that's kind of why I got into VCs, because I wanted to basically bring this income share agreement combined with a safe note, or here we call it an ASA, and use that unique kind of loan equity instrument to invest in founders that did not have access to friends and family funding, as well as founders that did not want to build a blitzscale business.
And just to be specific, so the size of these checks, 10 to 30K, I believe?
Yes.
So super early.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what kind of traction do you look for to kind of enable someone to be at that stage?
Yeah, so my favorite form of evaluating business traction is called pretend prototyping, or we put it down for short, predotyping. And so it was a movement actually started by this I think this Google product manager 10 years ago and stuff. Shout out Alberto Savoia, by the way. And the movement basically is, how can you validate a business idea without using code or building a single bit of product? And you do it by running all these quick manual experiments, right? So for example, if you're building a SaaS product, you stitch together like a landing page, which a lot of people know how to do. You then try to get skin in the game, that's what we call it, to prove that your target audience will give up something important to them in exchange for this hypothetical idea that does not exist yet. So email addresses are usually the lowest form of skin in the game, but I tend to recommend, I think, phone numbers, fake payment buttons, time, letters of intent, or what do you call those? Discounted pre-orders.
Yeah.
If you're building a physical product, I've seen some cool experiments here and there where people have, for example, created cool covers, and then just line their products up in Tesco's and IKEA's, put a fake price on it, hit on another aisle, and then watch to see how many people take that product, right? And then make the act of purchasing it. So just these cool experiments, I feel like, are very cheap, very quick. You run them a few times, and you can prove whether or not your business idea has a high chance of becoming successful just by running these quick manual experiments. Most founders are not willing to do them, though.
Sick. So I think you're one of the most innovative, youngest VC guys in London doing their thing. So what I'd like for you to do for the mandem is to break down the world of VC. What does VC mean? What does it mean for you? What are the different stages? And just give people an insight into this world, because we're both in the VC world, isn't it? But it's very opaque. So it would be good to give them an insight into what's actually going on, what it all means.
Right. Well, VC stands for venture capital. And so venture capital is the art of investing in early stage companies using other people's money. It's different to angel investing, which is the art of investing in early stage companies with your own money. So there's the key difference between a VC and an angel investor. Now, breaking down the stages, You have friends and family, which is where we come in, which is where you have, all right, if you have a family with mad bags, for example, like you've got a rich uncle, rich auntie, your dad is Snoop Dogg, you know, I don't know, your mom is like Doja Cat, for example, right? That's friends and family round, right? Yeah. Then I take the next step after that is pre-seed, which is generally your first round where you go around and ask other angel investors or VCs to put money into you, and that's kind of like lower to mid, you know, 6 digits, for example, and you'll go around and you'll still kind of be semi-proof of concept, but you'll kind of have something built-ish, maybe like a prototype, you know, maybe like some manual, you know, customer, you know, pre-orders. Maybe you might be making a little bit of revenue, you might not, depending on, you know, who you're talking to and stuff like that, right? Then you've got, once you do that, you go to seed, which is about £1 million-ish, give or take, and that's kind of like when you'll have, I think, your first, that's where I think the most majority of VCs like to operate because they think of it as a sweet deal for them, economics-wise. And that's generally, you'll probably want a little bit more of a product built out. Maybe like a version 1, you know, probably maybe not making money just yet, and then it'll give you that injection of cash needed to go scale. Then from there, you have your, we call them Series A, B, and C. That's like when you hit certain milestones, more VCs, more institutional investors will dump money into you, right? And so this is kind of like what I call, in some ways, for better or for worse, almost like a VC treadmill, right? If you're in a position where you start taking money and then you need more money to grow, it's kind of like, you know, feeding cereal to a really fat boy. Once you give him that one bowl of cereal, he's gonna want more cereal, and you just keep feeding him and feeding him and feeding him until he puts on 50 kilograms, and you wonder like why he hasn't done any exercise yet. So there's different types of businesses, right? You have most businesses that get glorified on media are called VC scalable, or called blitz scale. This means that is your standard type of business that needs a lot of money to grow and must grow quickly. That means Snapchat, Uber, Coinbase, other platforms like that. So, you know, they have a cool concept, lots of volume, lots of new users, may or may not be making money yet. Unit economics could be but that's besides the point. So, you know, and then they just, you know, and they get fed loads of money. They either dominate the world or they end up like, what's that one thing? It's either CNN Plus or Kiwi or Fast. And you take a lot of money and burn through it. Then you have your sustainable growing, you know, startups. Some people like to say lifestyle businesses, but I prefer not to use that term because a lot of them are building innovative things and great things for people. And so then example are, you know, great coffee brands, you know, some vegan sausage brands I've seen around here and there. You know, they're building stuff that will get to a healthy amount of revenue, 6, 7 digits, but VCs are not as happy with them because they're not 10, 20, 30x because they need something that will return their fund. So that's kind of like my brief lowdown of, you know, types of businesses and different stages of funding.
So what interesting trends have you been seeing in the market right now with most potential in your eyes?
It's stuff that I'm honestly trying to teach myself a little bit more of. I know deep tech is definitely a big thing.
What is that?
Deep tech.
What's
Which
deep
is
tech?
what?
So
Break it down for us.
So deep tech, I probably won't be able to break it down in an insanely great way, but the way I understand deep tech is it's a lot of stuff that powers the things that we take for granted day to day, like, you know, the underlying engine behind a lot of algorithms. And like, let's take, for example, I can give an example. Right? So I met a founder, you know, a couple weeks ago. You know, he goes to my church and he's building, and he's working on basically an electric. He's working for like Toyota priced electric cars, airplanes, bicycles.
Wow.
And
Say it one more time.
Toyota priced electric cars, bicycles, and small planes.
So mid-range, every day-to-day kind of, okay, sick,
Exactly.
electric, yeah.
So deep tech is what powers, for example, you know, the algorithms needed for the cars to drive by themselves, or the airplanes to drive by themselves.
Yeah.
That's one very big definition. I can give of deep tech.
The way I'm thinking about it in my head is like you've got physics, but then you have like quantum level stuff. So this is like tech, but then this is the
Yeah, that's insanely smart people stuff, and I probably won't be able to go more into depth of that, but it's the engine that powers all the stuff that we love on the day-to-day that I could barely explain to you. And then on top of that, I think a lot of sustainability. I think it's interesting seeing all these what do you call it? Vegan meat replacement type things. I think that's an interesting space. Insects, crickets, and all that type of stuff. Career economy is very popular. Web3, of course, though, in my opinion, I want to see people that are building Web3 as a means to solve a problem, not Web3 because it's trendy and investors love it type of thing. So yeah, those are the things I think I've seen, but I'm always keen on things that are not as trendy and that are high pain points that are not straightforward.
What have been your favorite 2 or 3 investments so far?
Oh man, if I put them on camera, I feel like 1 or 2 of my portfolio might kill me. So I'll list them all because
And
I
for
only have
context,
5.
do you talk about age ever?
Sorry.
Do you ever talk about age in your interviews? Because I think that's quite fascinating. People need to
No,
understand
we have a founder who's building a brand new spatial audio technology, and he's a little bit more middle aged.
Okay.
So.
Cool. We like the diversity.
Don't want to put his age on blast because that's not going to be too nice. And then the rest of our portfolio is kind of young. So
nice. But you obviously you call yourself Gen Z. For people that don't know, like, how old are you? And
24.
And when you think about the rest of your career now, going to your next half of your 20s, is the idea to just continue being a bigger and bigger VC, or are we going to see another change potentially?
You know, it depends on I think how long I can grow this. You know, I'll get an opportunity to work on this as much as I can. I don't know. I think ideally I'd probably run it for about. Imagine what a fund lasts about 10 years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'll probably run it for a minimum of 10 years. Then we'll see kind of where my heart lays at that point, right? Maybe I'll uncover other pain points and all right, I'll solve these other pain points and then I'll delegate, my fund to somebody else. Maybe it is that I find other avenues to expand my fund to, and then after that, I'm not just running a fund, I'm running some sort of all right, on the downstream, I get idea stage incubator, on the upstream, helping, growth stage founders, getting them acquired, all that type of stuff, Maybe it is that I take this and, then somehow in some mad way, find opportunities to, turn old shops and restaurants into just run-of-the-mill, kind of cheap, founder-friendly, working spaces that and kind of bring a little bit of that Ace Hotel energy back.
Come on.
Yeah, because I moved here a bit too late and I missed the Ace Hotel wave, and then Ace Hotel shut. But I've always loved those sort of open forum type of hive mind. Founders and investors could come hang out together in the same room on a real level energy and be able to work together and share the same space, really. So there's a lot of room, I think, for and a lot of possibilities. But I think it is also very imperative for us to, I think, stay really focused right now as well.
Okay. I have a question that's going to relate to the Mandem and how they can get a slice of this funding, because we've seen that we're in a world right now where you can essentially get cash for your ideas, right?
Big time.
You can get a lot of cash for your ideas, and we've seen the case of Theranos, where the woman kind of lied about her kind of products, and there's some problems around it. So first question is, how does someone get cash from you? What would they need to build? How can the Mandem get into the sort of VC world early kind of stage? What would they need to show you to say, hey, this is my idea, or give us an insight into that?
So I think there's going to be 2 separate answers to this question, because there's how we think right now and how we want to think down the road.
Yeah.
Cool.
Down the road, what we want to be is, if you've proven that your idea has, that you've passed, you've gotten the skin in the game for your idea, then we want to be able to have enough money to say, okay, we'll fund you, provided that you pass certain levels of DD.
What's a good metric for you? You were talking about skin in the game, collecting emails, phone numbers, that kind of thing. Someone sort of launched their product, they've got 100 people signed up to their list. Is that exciting to you, or what's an exciting kind of number or metric that will kind of get you to really think about them?
Do you know what? I think it's hard to pinpoint an exact number to it because, like, I mean,
Different use cases.
yeah, it's different use cases. Also, if you're building something that is going to be much higher priced in the front end, but versus if you're building something that will be much lower priced in the front end, then of course you'll need more volume for that, right? So I think to start off with, you want to have some kind of skin in the game, which a lot of people don't end up getting to. I think, having run this own technique, buying some of my own startup ideas, I've been experimenting here and there, I would find that a lot of my really terrible startup ideas, I would get like 0 purchases, 0 phone numbers, 0 emails, 0 anything really. And that was like a very clear sign, okay, I think I had this idea like 2 years ago to write like a children's book for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I turned into a dog story, where like 2 dogs were selling beer at their school.
Oh, okay. Creative.
And basically, I created a landing page for that. Like, all right, who wants to pay who wants to pay a discounted like £10 for this hypothetical book about 2 dogs selling beers at their school and basically, and learning about entrepreneurship and product market fit along the way. Yeah, nobody really bought it. So that was the end of my book writing journey.
So when we were talking earlier, you're talking about the idea of founders not being stuck on one idea and how with Horizon and your methodology and framework, you want them to test different ideas. So to talk to us about that, like how many different ideas should people be testing, and how do you know like something's got traction and I should be sticking with this?
Yeah, I think what I want to see, more, especially in the UK and greater European tech ecosystems, I want to see more aspiring founders have the mindset of, I've got several ideas, I'm going to test a bunch of them using pretend prototyping experiments and prove that the target market will put some skin in the game into this idea, and then run it by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ideas, right? I think what I see a little bit too much of in demo days, I'm not going to call anybody out in particular because I'll be mean. I see a little bit too much of, I can tell that a founder came up with something and just said, okay, yep, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to get friends and family money. I'm just going to delve straight into it. I'll do user research. But the user research will consist of, talking to my dad and my mom and saying like, oh, my dad and my mom said they would buy it on this survey. Yeah, that's 2 members. Who else am I gonna talk to? All right, how about, 3 of my sisters, and like, how about like the rest of my mates, I grew up with in school and all that type of stuff. Yep, all right, that's user research. I'm gonna be successful. Let's go build it, right? And I think the first thing I want to say is user research is helpful in terms of, figuring out what you should build, but it is not a substitute for traction.
Yeah.
So I think I would highly encourage for founders not to build the first thing that comes to their mind. I think founders should test 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different ideas. Pick the one that generates the most amount of skin in the game that they would still enjoy building, because founders shouldn't build something that they absolutely hate, obviously, and then commit their time and energy to that. I think that would serve the founder ecosystem a lot better.
I got one more. Okay, we're talking a lot about the entrepreneur side of things. You're obviously an investor, right? And I know there's a couple man that want to be investors. They see themselves as savvy investors.
Yeah.
How the hell do you raise a VC fund and invest other people's money into it? Like, how do you do that? Like, for other people that might want to sort of get into it, is it getting easier? Was it hard to do?
Yeah, because obviously Harry Stebbings set pace as another Gen Z who's now got his own fund. You've got your own fund.
Yeah, well, first I'll be faced with Harry Stebbings is doing a lot better than I am. So I don't want to be mentioned in his breath yet, but
No, but for the man,
You've got 5 investments, you're in.
It's a journey I'm still trying to figure out as well, right? So to be honest, right now what we're doing is we're lucky enough to have, I think, some family backing us, and what we've done is we're doing a thing called a market entry test.
Okay.
And what a market entry test is we're using family money to build out a track record portfolio that we can then use to then raise a legitimate institutional, bigger round.
Yeah.
Now, in the bigger round, honestly, I'm still in early days. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I think approximately what I've learned so far is, I think if you are if you're trying to do just normal angel investing, I think doing stuff like, you know, syndicates, you know, I think Odin's got some cool SPV products and stuff like that. Like doing like little syndicates and, you know, putting in small checks to, you know, different founders and building a portfolio that way. And then progressing over to building a VC fund is kind of like a good way to go.
Yeah,
For us, you know, we're taking family money and we're investing it off balance sheet, and that's how we're building a track record before, you know, putting the dumping the necessary money into various jurisdictions. You know, what structure, you know, what admin, you know, what getting an FCA license, you know, all sorts of other types of stuff. You know, who am I going to talk to? Family offices, angel investors that are my friends. Other VCs that are my friends, you know, stuff like that. So I'll probably have better answers for you on the actual, you know, how do you legit raise like a VC fund, like probably 6-7 months down the road. But I think that's what I'm learning so far, right? It's all about relationships.
And I probably think as well, like, as soon as you put your skin in the game, as you said, look, when you launch something,
Yeah.
like, I've wanted to have a fund for years. I've helped 10,000 entrepreneurs. A few other entrepreneurial friends in their mid-20s who've done a couple business, want to open funds, but it's one thing walking around saying to some friends who got money, oh, hey, let's build a fund. And you're just talking and waiting for someone to give you 5 million or 10 million before you even start moving. To actually say, you know what, I don't have the 10 million pounds right now, but I might have 10 or 50K, and like my best friend has 40K, my parents have this, and all of a sudden you've got a 200 to 500K pot or £1 million pot, and you're just starting. And I guarantee for anyone out there trying to make movement, because this is what's happened with all my businesses, as soon as you've now announced, hey, we're Gen Z VC, we've got Horizon, and then you're making investment plays, I'm pretty sure there's been like people knocking on the door saying, oh, let's have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and it's the weird chicken and egg game, because I think when you don't have any momentum yet, like no one's gonna put a check in you.
Yeah.
You know, people will put check in you like when you don't actually need the money as much anymore, right? And that's kind of like the hilarious thing. But yeah, no, I think off the top of my head, because like I've had conversations, you know, I think Andy Davis is building his own fund, so I think we've had quite a few conversations here or there about just like, you know, fundraising tactics and whatnot. I think he's doing a primary strategy where it's like, I think mostly 5 to 10K checks off of his friends. I think that's probably what I'm going to do as well. Just like, you know, grow quantity of LPs and like, you know, everyone putting in like 5 and 10K and stuff like that. Seeing how I manage that all through admin and cap table and all that. But I think that might be a little bit of a better bet than like hoping that, you know, that some angel is going to, like some person's going to dump in like, you know, a big fat check into you, which by the way, a lot of the people that have massive checks are kind of a bit stuffy, a bit conservative minded, and aren't going to be great for like your long-term business strategy. So it's also important that you get investors in your fund, in your business that have the kind of mindset that wants to take you forward, and that's, you know, good for your long-term strategy, rather than, oh, they got bags of cash, but they'll probably like hold you back, you know, with outdated thinking and whatnot.
Tell us about the 5 investments you had.
So
What's the mix?
we have Go Captain, which is what does Go Captain do? Go Captain does buy now, pay later for students that want to take driving lessons, 0 interest. We have one called Zim Connections, which does, it's an eSIM marketplace. So whenever you're traveling outside the UK, you can use this eSIM marketplace to get a market rate eSIM that you can use temporarily wherever you're traveling, instead of having to go to a physical store. With Kinecode, that does spatial audio 2.0 for metaverses, for video games, for headsets. And so aiming to revolutionize, I think, quality of audio, you know, for like the next generation of David Attenborough's, you know, documentaries and stuff like that. We have Isla Generation, which has created a training app for stores in order for them to learn how to become safe spaces for those that are escaping domestic violence. And then finally, we have GigBridge, which is a gig economy marketplace connecting construction companies with freelance construction workers.
I guess we'll kind of end it off, but we'll leave with one more thing. If there's one block that you want to give to our audience to help them get to the bag, whether they're trying to be entrepreneurs or investors or something, what's that one key takeaway or golden nugget that you give to someone?
There's a lot I can give, but I think the first real underrated thing is, I think, try to grow your emotional intelligence as much as possible, because I think I wouldn't call myself like insanely successful yet. I mean, I've done some things, but like I think something that's helped me a lot throughout my journey is, I think, just really understanding the nuances of, you know, how people operate and how people want to operate. And so I think, you know, try to learn and understand people as much as you can.
Love that.
Nice, yeah, that's
Top
great.
man, John.
Love that. Thank you very much.
Big up. And how can people get in touch with Horizon VC if they've got a business idea?
So you got me on LinkedIn. You got me on Twitter. So Twitter at Horizon VC, HORIZAN VC, and then my name on both Twitter and LinkedIn is, well, I'll spell it out for everybody, which I think it might be on the description, but it's JONATHAN space SUN. So there you go.
Cool.
Let's go.
John, thank you very much, man.
Thank you,
It's
dude.
been a pleasure.
My dog.
Love.
Almost, man.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
bro.
later.
Thanks for rolling through. We love that.
That's it. Yeah,
Fire.
John, thank
Box to
you,
bag.
man.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go, man.
That was fun.